Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your host, Shaun alongside my guys, Jaevon, Toddy, and Kevin Dent. We're back for another episode number 144. Kevin Dent, how are we doing today?
Doing well, man. Have no complaints. SGA guy's MVP, so it's nice to see. I know a lot of people were upset, saying the Joker should have won it, saying voters fatigue, all that kind of good shit. I think the best player in the world deserved it. And you could have debated that he could have won it last year. So I'm doing well, man. Can't complain.
Jaevon, Toddy, we saw you come on today's show with a big smile on your face. How are you feeling?
I'm sorry, I was on X and I saw Kendrick Perkins. Did you guys see Kendrick Perkins on the Road Tripping podcast? He said that he said that he locked up Andrew Bynum, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker when they went on their finals run. And then I saw Kevin Durant tweet out the real MVP. Sorry, that was a good chuckle right there. I needed that right before. That was pretty hysterical. Kevin, if you could pull up Tim Duncan's numbers from that Western Conference Finals, just so we could clarify that Kendrick Perkins, Big Perk, indeed locked up the great Tim Duncan. But I'm doing great. I'm just, we're out here trying to make it happen.
That was 2007?
No, 2012.
2012.
Oh, 2012. Yep. It went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this is all his games in the career. So in 24 games, Tim Duncan averaged 18 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks versus Kendrick Perkins. Let me see in the playoffs.
Oh, that was just in general. Got you.
But that sounds pretty accurate. A cool double-double.
Okay, so in the playoffs, he averaged 19, 10, 3 assists, 2 blocks in 12 games versus Kendrick Perkins.
Okay, so he improved his stats upon the regular season averages.
Okay, here, 27-7 game 1, 14-12 game 2, 16-8 game 3, 9-6 game 4, 22-12 game 5, 19-16. So I guess he held him to 10 one time.
Kendrick Perkins will not let us forget about that 9-6 game 4 for Tim Duncan. He shut him down. Kendrick Perkins, like when I read that, I just imagined that he kind of just embodied the guy who plays pickup basketball, slaps the floor and says, "I love defense." Like, oh yeah, absolutely locked him down. Sure.
The big man version of Tony Allen.
Yeah, pretty much. Even though Tony Allen, he was elite, but Kendrick Perkins would definitely be the type to tell you that he's the big man's Tony Allen. As we get things started here on episode 144 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun alongside Jaevon, Toddy, and Kevin Dent. Guys, let's start things off with some NFL today as the NBA Conference Finals have begun, but we got some big news about both of our teams, and we'll start it off with 2 guys getting paid, and those 2 guys are on the San Francisco 49ers as Brock Purdy, the quarterback, Fred Warner, the linebacker, each got contract extensions from the 49ers as Fred Warner, who's a 4-time All-Pro, he agreed to a 3-year, $63 million contract extension that included $56 million in guaranteed money that made him the NFL's highest paid linebacker. It marks the 2nd time in his 7-year NFL career that Warner has landed a contract that makes him the league's highest paid linebacker, as noted by ESPN's Adam Schefter. Brock Purdy and the 49ers agreed to a 5-year, $265 million contract extension, including $181 million in total guarantees. A lot of people are saying that Brock Purdy robbed the 49ers, but then you look at it, he's getting paid $53 million a year, which is not the highest paid quarterback or player in the league. So Brock got paid, but compared to where the market is at, he didn't reset the market, which is what a lot of people were asking is when the 49ers have to pay Brock Purdy, they're not going to give him a little contract. So is he just going to reset the market? Because that's what we seem to see with these quarterbacks all the time is that every single time a quarterback of his status gets paid, they reset the market. 49ers were able to negotiate their way with Brock Purdy and his agent to not completely do that, but Brock certainly got paid, and I'll add that Brock Purdy has a no trade clause in his contract. And so that is worth noting. Jaevon, Toddy, I'll start things off with you as my fellow 49ers fan on this panel. Just what are your thoughts on the 49ers locking up 2 cornerstone pieces in Fred Warner and Brock Purdy?
Well, I'm just glad that both guys got locked up before training camp. Usually, Kevin is a guy that I talk to.
Let's wrap that up. That's a once in a lifetime.
Consistently. Last year was the Brandon Ayuk contract. Kevin was like, he's gone. When's it going to happen? I said, Kev, relax. All of our deals get done in training camp. But for both deals, and George Kittle as well, basically to get all 3 of those guys locked up, it's like the core, heart and soul of the team, I would say so, and Trent Williams as well. For all those guys to kind of get locked up and get paid and just go into the offseason, into training camp, head down, it's a dream come true. We don't have any drama to worry about. We're always in the blogs like, what about this guy's going to get paid? Is this guy going to get paid? Kevin's like, hey, well, Brock's he's gonna want 70, and he's like, you're going to be a Tennessee Titan, or you're going to be a New York Giant. Obviously, this was before the draft, so it's good to see that we got our guy locked up, Brock Purdy, who's top 10 quarterback. Kevin's going to probably come and say some other things, but I do believe Brock is a top 10 quarterback when healthy, and everything's up to par. Last year, we did not have the year we desired. Obviously, going 6-11 and getting the 11th spot in the draft. For us to kind of come now and to say, hey, let's regroup in the offseason. Let's get everybody back right. Oh, I forgot to mention Bosa is definitely a part of that core as well. Also, just want to get everybody on track. Fred Warner, number one, the best linebacker in the NFL. I don't think that's without saying. Played on a broken ankle last year and still was able to get first team All-Pro, Pro Bowl, anything, you name it. I think his name is probably going to be mentioned in the Hall of Fame once he retires. Absolutely in the Ring of Honor for a 49er. But as a player himself, he's definitely going to the Hall of Fame. But I do think this is going to be the year where we just put our heads down. We got to get back to where we once were, back at the top of the NFC. We're just a year removed from that, like I said, 6-11 season. But a year before that, we were in the Super Bowl, up on Patrick Mahomes in overtime. Didn't go the way that we planned. And windows close, life comes at you fast in the NFL. Kev could tell you that. We know from personal experience from going to the Super Bowl to missing the playoffs. So now it's just we're worried about reloading. It's a word that I've said to Kevin. We're not rebuilding. We're reloading. You can't be rebuilding when you're paying your quarterback $50+ million. And I do think that now coach, quarterback, when you look at the coach quarterback combo of a lot of these guys in the league, you look at Josh Allen with his coach in Buffalo. I'm definitely blanking on his name currently right now. You have
McDermott.
Andy. What happened, Sean?
You said Josh Allen's coach in Buffalo, Sean McDermott?
Yeah, McDermott. Sorry. Sean McDermott, Josh Allen. You got Andy and Patrick Mahomes. You got Burrow, Zach Taylor. You got obviously Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. The list kind of just goes on and on with, coach, quarterback, Lamar and Harbaugh. Like, just you want to have that coach, quarterback tandem, and when those guys are on the same page, usually you're a successful team. And I'm just happy that all this got done before this summer or before training camp started, and we're kind of just ready to just put our head down and like to see a lot of the young guys in training camp kind of blossom, because we already know the guys that we have currently. I want to see what we're going to see from the guys from that we drafted currently in the draft, and we'll get there.
Yeah, and Jaevon makes a great point about the guys that the 49ers are drafting, because one other thing to add about these 2 signings is that obviously Brock Purdy was the last pick in the NFL draft. Fred Warner was a 3rd-round pick. George Kittle, who also recently got a contract extension from the 49ers, 5th-round pick. So it's not all about the first-round picks when it comes to the 49ers, because they tend to find a lot of success later in the draft. And I want to shout out everyone who's tuning in right now on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitch. And I want to get to a couple of those comments on YouTube and Instagram. So when it comes to the 49ers, we hear from @BigMun73, a.k.a. Toddy's dad, who says, we go in undefeated and win the Super Bowl at Levi's next year. Niners locked up their character guys, and they're some of the best in the league at their positions. Then in all caps, he says, for the audio-only listeners, we got cheated by the league in the Super Bowl. And then when Jaevon was talking about Josh Allen, Big Mun said, Allen got to worry about Michael B. Jordan stealing his girl. That'd be actress Haley Steinfeld. And then before we get Kevin's thoughts on these 49ers signings, I also wanted to shout out Uncle Manny, who's always tuning in on YouTube. We appreciate you, as he says, I thought Purdy got a reasonable deal. So, Kevin, now I toss things to you. What are your thoughts on the 49ers paying Brock Purdy and Fred Warner?
So we all have played sports one time in our life, and I don't know if you guys have ever experienced daddy ball, or nephew ball, cousin ball, whatever you want to do. No matter what they go out there and do, we're gonna take care of you because you're loyal to us and we're loyal to you. Shaun, Toddy mentioned Fred Warner being the best linebacker last season. This is called stats over politics, Shaun or Toddy, not politics over stats. You can look at the numbers. He was by far not the best linebacker, but you know what? Papa John's going to pay him like it because he's been here. He's loyal. He's a 5th round, 3rd round guy. This is our guy. We got him out the mud. We're going to pay him all this money. So let's just look at these stats. 131 tackles, career low. 53 stops, career low. 5 tackles for loss, career low. 2 interceptions, tied with his career low. 4 forced fumbles, and a 97.5 passer rating allowed. That's pretty high for the best linebacker in football. Let's go over the best linebacker in football. I won't even mention his name. I'll just give you his stats.
Before you give those stats, Kevin, just want to let you know, broken ankle.
Toddy,
that he played on.
Cannot play on a broken ankle. You physically cannot play on a broken ankle. So you say,
but he did. He did.
But he did. He literally did.
Brother, you cannot play on a broken ankle.
Okay, but Kevin, but
ankle was hurt. Okay, broken is you can't play on a broken ankle.
Okay, so
fractured ankle.
Let's get into that then, because I think there's some middle ground, and I can play the devil's advocate, Phil the Gary chair here for a moment, because I feel like this is being lost in translation a little bit, because both of things that you guys are saying are true. But so when it comes to what Toddy's saying is, Kevin, there were broken bones in his ankle. The ankle is like a hand or like a foot, where there are like hundreds of bones in there. So the whole ankle was not broken, but there were broken bones in the ankle. And so to that point, it's not the whole entire ankle, but what Toddy's saying is factually right. He played on a broken ankle, broken bones in his ankle, but then what Kevin is saying is correct as well.
And a broken ankle? If he has a broken ankle, he cannot move lateral. He can't move up and back. He can't move on a broken ankle. Is all I'm getting at.
But that's his
Kevin is about to give you the stats of his linebacker.
Okay, so Kevin, go.
You, Kevin.
I think you both were right with that point. Is that Toddy's factually right that there were broken bones in the ankle, but Kevin, you're right that the whole ankle wasn't broken. So let's be specific here. So let's hear the stats.
His ankle was not broken, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you guys knew that. Toddy wanted to throw out the broken ankle. I'm happy Shaun came in here and played devil's advocate and let them know that he had some fractures in his ankle. But Toddy, we had a bad season. He played on a broken ankle, Kevin. Come on.
At least he played through it because everybody else was out.
But all right, so let's go about the best linebacker stats. So I mentioned Fred Warner, 131 tackles to Zach Bond's 184, 53 stops to 79, 5 tackles for loss to 13, 3 interceptions to 5, 6 forced fumbles to 4, and a 75 passer rating to 97.5.
Why ain't y'all giving dubs?
This is the example of the Niners thinking with their heart. Fred Warner is a heart guy. They pulled up the string cord. You know what? You're not the best linebacker in football, but we're going to pay you like that because that's what we do here. You're our guy. We're going to take care of you. So
they didn't do that with Purdy, though.
Let's give you 20-something million a year, but the best linebacker in football statistically gets 17 because the Eagles, yes, you're the best linebacker in football, but we want to win games. We're not here to look pretty and sign guys to make them say they're the highest paid in football. So let's get to Brock Purdy. I said you guys overpaid Kittle. You overpaid Fred Warner. You overpaid Brandon Ayuk. So why not overpay Brock Purdy? There was a rumor before we get into this. Adam Schefter came out and said that Brock Purdy wanted $65 a year, and they said no. And they went from 65 to 53, and there was not one team to come in and say, maybe Brock Purdy could be good for us. Adam Schefter, word for word, said a GM told him he's a good quarterback for them. And what does that mean, you guys? When everything's perfect and pretty, he's good. But when it's not, it's really not. So let's just compare the first 2 years out of his starting career. The first year doesn't really count because he came in late. So the first 2023 Brock, Super Team Brock, 12-5 Brock, NFC Championship Brock. 31 touchdowns, 11 picks, 10 yards per attempt, 4,280 yards. You take away all those shiny toys, Brock Purdy, 6-11, 3,864 yards, 8 yards per attempt, 20 touchdowns to 12 picks. So you're telling me he makes more money than Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and Matthew Stafford. You guys are Niner fans. We will all agree that he's not better than a single one of those quarterbacks I named, correct?
No.
All right, so
it's all about the market, Kevin. Dak Prescott literally makes $60 million. Is he better than Patrick Mahomes? Is he better than Lamar Jackson?
Overpaid quarterback. We talk about a lot of overpaid quarterbacks.
Just because some guys are underpaid,
do it the right way, and some franchises do it the wrong way. Those guys I listed win their team's games. Brock Purdy couldn't do shit when he didn't have all those fancy toys. When Brock Purdy is not paid to win you guys games. Brock Purdy is there to coach out orders, not lead a team. There's a quarterback that wins you games because of, and you just win games because he just happens to be under center. We've mentioned it. Jimmy Garoppolo looked really good. What did he do after that? Brock Purdy looks really good with all these shiny toys, but when there's no shiny toys, you got a top 11 pick. So did Brock Purdy deserve this money? No. I get it. Shaun's going to say it's the market. You have to look at the guys that's getting paid more than. The guys that I mentioned do less with more. Jalen Hurts took Quez Watkins to the playoffs. You guys probably don't even know who Quez Watkins is. Justin Herbert took Quentin Johnson to the playoffs. A lot of people do less with more. Baker, Jaden Daniels, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen. His receivers didn't even show up with shoes to the field. People do less with more, but Brock Purdy does less or more with. He does less with more, and when he takes away the more, he does less. He's not a quarterback that's going to help you win games. And the fact that you gave him a no trade clause just goes to show that Papa John is doing something over there that is daddy ball. You're our guy. We're going to bring you on. If he was that good, he would have gotten offers from somebody else. Not one team called. If any of these other quarterbacks that I mentioned under him are up for a payday, people are calling for Patrick. People are calling for Lamar, Justin, Matthew Stafford. We saw it this offseason. People wanted Matthew Stafford. Nobody wanted Brock Purdy because he's only good when things are right. So, congratulations. You guys just keep putting yourself behind the 8-ball. I call you guys the West Coast Bengals. You guys are only paying a certain amount of guys, and everybody else, you're just hoping and praying.
That's literally what everybody does. They pay their guys.
That's not what everybody does. Just because you guys do, everybody does it.
Team? That's literally what we're doing.
We let go of our best guys. We do it every offseason. Our best guys walk.
Because you can't pay everybody.
But you guys
choose the best guys. You pay Jalen, you pay AJ,
you pay everybody. We just choose not to. You can't.
There will be guys coming up for contracts. And you'll be looking at.
The last thing I'm going to say on this is Brock Purdy is not a top 10 quarterback, but he's paid like it. And everything showed you last year. You give all these other guys less, and they go to the playoffs. Everyone wants to say, even last year's version of you guys, injured, better than the Vikings, better than the Commanders, better than the Bucks. And all of those guys with less went to the playoffs, and you guys couldn't do that. That's all I'm saying. So $53 million for 6 and 11. Wow, that's highway robbery.
What about all the years before that, though? Not just the 6 and 11 years.
Yeah, no, when everything's right, and he doesn't have to
NFC championship, Super
throw
Bowl,
a bubble, do a little jet sweep to Debo.
Then everybody gets hurt, and now it's he got $53 million to go 6 and 11. What about all the other stuff that happened?
When everything was going right, I get that. That's perfect. But the quarterbacks I mentioned did less.
Everything was going right. You have a good team.
I mean, let me ask you this, Toddy.
You guys had a great team.
This has nothing to do with the Eagles. Last season, the way injuries and all, were you guys better than the Vikings? Would you say?
Were we better than the Vikings last year?
Yeah, injuries and all.
I think so.
I mean,
okay,
no,
that's
not with half the team injured. No.
Okay, so Shaun says no. So next team, the Buccaneers. Would you say you were better than the Bucs last year? Injuries and all.
The Bucs last year.
So the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you trying to say who are we going to replace in the NFC?
No, hold on. The Commanders. Would you say you're better than the Commanders? All in all, injuries and all.
No.
So these teams went to the playoffs with a sub-tier roster, and your $53 million quarterback couldn't win 7 games. I'm just saying.
Rough year last year.
It's easy to say when everything's peachy, you're winning games. Like I said, you guys don't even know who Quez Watkins is, and Jalen Hurts took him to the playoffs. Some guys win games. Some guys win games because of what's around them.
Right
on, so what I have to say about this is that Brock Purdy and Fred Warner both deserve to be paid. Fred Warner deserved to be paid as the best linebacker in the NFL for a second time because he did it once, and then he continued to prove why he was worth.
But last year, he didn't deserve it.
Okay, but this is what we've talked about in the past, though. And again, whether if the whole ankle was broken or bones in the ankle were broken, the guy played through an injury. He could have just sat out. It was already a lost season. He should have sat out, but he didn't because he's a leader, and he knows that that team needed him to lead in that manner, even in a 6-11 season. Fred Warner is the best linebacker in the NFL. He has done it year after year after year. Kevin, you wanted to mention a one-season sample size when it comes to Zach Bond. He's a one-hit wonder for all I'm concerned. Like, congratulations. He deserved 3 years, $51 million, what the Eagles paid him. Congratulations. You had a career year. You deserve to get paid that. But as far as I'm concerned, he's a one-hit wonder versus Fred Warner has done it year after year. And when it comes to Brock Purdy, he has been great for 3 seasons because, okay, yeah, he has one bad season because everyone around him is hurt. The team goes 6-11. But when you look at Brock Purdy's cumulative of what he's contributed over these 3 seasons, 9,518 passing yards, 64 passing touchdowns, 4 playoff wins in 3 years. He made it to the NFC Championship, or he won an NFC Championship, and he made it to the Pro Bowl. Brock Purdy earned that money, and he's not being paid as the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. So there's that caveat. And before I pass the mic back to whoever wants it, I have to mention this too, because, okay, context matters. Zach Bond has been in the NFL for two less seasons than Fred Warner. Warner came in 2018. Bond came in 2020. Here's my point. Fred Warner's played in 115 games. Bond's played in 78. That stat doesn't really matter as much because Fred Warner has 2 seasons on him. That's 32 games, or even with a new schedule, that's 34 games. So that part doesn't matter. But here's where it matters, because even though Fred Warner has 2 extra seasons on Bond, the stats speak for themselves. This is stats over politics. You were saying earlier, Kevin, that this isn't politics over stats. So throughout their careers, Fred Warner has 569 tackles. Bond, 153. Assisted tackles, Fred Warner, 328. Bond, 86. So when we come to total tackles, Fred Warner has 897. Bond has 293. Oh, two years on him, but he has 600 more tackles than him. You look at sacks. Warner has 10. Bond has 5.5. Interceptions. Warner has 10. Bond has 2. Yeah, Bond may have had a better season while Fred was playing through an injury, but as far as I'm concerned, he was a one-hit wonder. So to bring up his stats in comparison to Fred Warner, to me, is a joke. And that's with all due respect to Bond, because he was a one-hit wonder compared to Fred Warner.
I can mention another linebacker if you like.
Please. I know you were. I saw you typing away. I was waiting to hear the
You guys are
report.
making this an Eagles-Niners debate, and that's
You're trying to make this an Eagles-Niners
I can give you a number. I can give you multiple linebackers that had a better year, but all you're going to do is throw at me that he had a bad ankle. So me giving you two other examples, all you're going to say to me is, Kevin, he had a fractured ankle. He had to lead us out there, Kevin. He led us to an 11th pick in the draft. He's such a good leader. That's what the Niners' problem is. It's fucking daddy ball. Kittle did not deserve to be the highest paid tight end, but because he had one good season when everything else around him is subpar, he gets paid like that. Kittle does not have 1,000 yards if CMC's playing. If Ayuk is playing, he doesn't. But because they're hurting, he has a good year. What do you guys do? You guys are infamous for paying for one good season. I'm going to bring him up every time we talk about this. The wide back, 1,400 yards. Man, let's give him all this money. Ain't come close to 1,000 yards. Kevin, he runs the ball too. I'm just saying, there's excuses after excuses for why you guys pay these guys. That's all I'm saying.
What's going to happen is all these guys are going to ball out next season, and Kevin's going to come on here. And I've already talked about, even this is going back to previous podcasts. The schedule that we have is very favorable. I predicted that we're probably going to go anywhere from 12-5 to like 13-4 next year, based on our very favorable schedule. Kevin's going to come on here and say the exact same thing about all the guys that were balling out. He's going to say, "Oh, you guys played the Jags, you guys played the Titans, you guys played all these other guys." Like, we're never going to be able to win this conversation until we actually get to the playoffs and start beating teams. So it's nothing ever satisfies Kevin. Kevin's going to always come on here and say this and that when all of our guys are getting paid because they're playing like one of the top players in the league. And now that we have a favorable schedule going into next year, we're going to win a bunch of these games. Kevin's going to come back on and say, "Look, we're playing the Chiefs and we're playing the Rams. You guys are playing the Jags and the Titans and all this other stuff." So I just want you guys to know right now, this is what it's going to be going into next season. And we're not going to win this. It's going to be back. We're talking to a wall right now when it comes to Kevin Dent, the guy to my right, screaming at clouds right now. That's literally what it is. Going into next year, when we win a bunch of games, Kevin's going to come back on here. He's going to do this. It's a cycle thing with Kevin. We're currently right here now. Niners pay a guy. He's going to overreact. We're going to go. We're going to win all these games. Who have you played? You're playing a bunch of shit quarterbacks. You're playing this guy. You're playing that guy. And then when we get to the playoffs and when we start beating teams, Kevin's like, Purdy's got this. He's got that. That's just what's going to happen. We can't satisfy Kevin. He's paid. He wasn't one of the highest. He was paid under $2. Jordan Love still makes more than him. He's done way more than him. Trevor Lawrence is making $55 million a year APY. What the fuck has Trevor Lawrence done? So
those quarterbacks are paid to win games.
We got him right now at the $53 million mark. The salary cap's only going to go up. So the next guy that's going to get paid is going to get like what Dak got, which was insane. And we all can agree that the Deshaun Watson contract was just out of this world. That was just an outlier thing. I don't think anyone else is going to get a fully. I think. Well, didn't Lamar get a fully guaranteed? I don't think it was fully guaranteed. But I don't think we'll see a Deshaun Watson like contract ever again. But I'm saying currently, as the market stands, Purdy did not reset the market. He got in where he fits. I think he's like 7th currently right now. And you mentioned Lamar. You mentioned Lamar. You mentioned Patrick Mahomes. You mentioned Josh Allen. You mentioned Joe Burrow. I'm not coming on here saying he's better than any of those guys. I don't think Shaun is either. I'm saying where he currently is slotted, currently right now, it's just right.
So let me ask you.
I'm not saying he asked for 65, Kevin. We got 53.
Let me ask you.
That's called negotiation.
That's where he needs to be.
Yeah, all I want to say yes or no. I don't want to stay on this topic too long. Were you guys happy with what Brock Purdy put on the field last year?
Yes, because he
stop it.
He did what he could last year.
I don't want you to tell me he did this because of injuries. Yes or no? As a Niners fan, were you proud of his performance last year?
Yeah.
Toddy?
Oh, he did good.
Yeah, so just to elaborate.
Yes, Kevin, yes.
That's all I'm asking.
Team needs to be better, though.
And I want to elaborate, too, because, last season specifically, when everyone around him was getting hurt, and Brock dealt with an elbow injury himself last year. And Toddy, didn't he miss one game and then he came back?
He missed two
games. Okay, so he even was injured himself last year. But for what he showed on the field, I was a fan of it personally because he proved kind of that the narrative that was around him was wrong. Because everyone was saying, oh, Brock Purdy, Kevin, you're one of these people. You're one of many, but you're one of these people where people would say, oh, Brock Purdy can only play when the talent is perfect around him. And he proved that that wasn't the case because even though it did not always result in wins.
12 games to 6 games. He proved that he did what?
And my point is just that he proved.
I'm just going to say this. I'm going to cut you off, Shaun.
It's all right.
This year, the talent is not what it's been previous years.
So you're already putting in excuses for him to have another bad year.
No, he's not going to have a bad year.
He won't have.
I literally just said we're going to go 12-4.
No matter what's around him. You would tell me Greg Jennings is better than Quentin Johnson, would you not?
Jaevon Jennings.
I'm just saying that you guys had better options than a lot of these other guys, even with Hurt. And these guys, we don't give these guys passes. We don't give Justin Herbert passes. But you know what? Justin Herbert gets to the dance. You can't say nothing when you have a top 11 pick. You can't say he had a good season. You had a top 11 pick. Any other team besides your home team,
the whole entire team was
they played bad. No one's saying Trevor Lawrence played good, right? Because they had a top 2 pick. That's all I'm saying. You can't.
What has Trevor Lawrence done?
You can't sit here and praise Brock Purdy off of a 6-11 season. Shaun mentioned his stats, but 2 out of those 3 seasons, he had the best of the best. When he has the worst of the worst, he's shit. Literal shit. 6-11, a top 11 pick. You paid a guy $53 million off of a 6-win season. Justin Fields could have won more than 6 games. Justin Fields don't got the 6-win season.
Why'd you have to mention
my guy? I'm not
going to talk against him.
Multiple quarterbacks with worse off than the Niners, even with them being hurt, and they still did more than Brock Purdy.
Well, as Demetrius Jones says on YouTube, Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be the greatest thing to be in the NFL. He ain't even did nothing for real. And so, Trevor Lawrence isn't really the guy to compare to Brock Purdy because in reality,
he went to the playoffs with Gabe Davis.
But here's the point about Trevor Lawrence. If you're really trying to,
that's fucking funny because he had. You guys scream white boy Ricky from the top of the lungs. Toddy said Jennings was a number 1 option. You got all this going for you, and you couldn't do shit with it.
Well, the point that I wanted to
when everything around him is pitch perfect, but when it rains a little bit, can Brock Purdy stand the rain? 6 wins? I don't think so.
The point that I wanted to make about Trevor Lawrence is at least in the debate of Trevor Lawrence and Brock Purdy, if you look at their NFL careers, just not even Kevin, I know that the point that you're trying to make is you're trying to compare Trevor Lawrence and Brock Purdy head to head. But if I just look at Brock Purdy, the individual NFL player, Trevor Lawrence, the individual NFL player, Trevor Lawrence is a massive letdown versus Brock Purdy has just come out of nowhere. He's come out of left field from Mr. Irrelevant to a top 7 paid quarterback in the NFL.
So why don't we give
Trevor Lawrence? Trevor Lawrence was mentioned with names like Andrew Luck, John Elway, every generational quarterback, and there was a fly that just wanted to smack me in the face, but every generational quarterback that you could think about, Trevor Lawrence had his name mentioned with them, and he has not met those expectations. And
okay, but why don't we give him the same kind of excuses you gave Brock Purdy? He ain't got no one to throw the ball to, but Trevor Lawrence sucks.
Kevin, I think what has to happen is
Brock Purdy has 1 season of no weapons, and he looks average. Trevor Lawrence has had his whole career with no weapons. That's all I'm saying. You guys want to make
we have to see is after the contract that he's given, a lot more pressure is going to be on Brock. We just gotta wait and see now.
Hey, exactly. So it's going to be nice when CMC's back, and he has a top 3 running back in the backfield. He got Ayuk. He got all these pretty shiny toys. But when all that goes away, and I'm going to sit here and scream this from the rooftop, Jalen Hurts took Quez Watkins to the playoffs.
Well,
who else were your receivers?
Devontae Smith. There was no Saquon. There was no AJ. I'm just saying, you pay quarterbacks to win games. You guys paid Purdy to be the lead constructor at the orchestra. That's all he does. He's not going to win you no games. He's going to lose you a couple. We saw multiple interception games that he lost. It's easy to look at his career stats and bring that to the table. It's a what have you done for me lately league, and he gave you a top 11 pick.
Kevin, I'm going to need you to do me a favor since you're our social media guru. Is clip what you just said, post it onto social media this week, because then when Brock Purdy does end up doing well and does win the 49ers some games, I'm not saying Brock Purdy is such an elite talent that he'll take you to a Super Bowl championship by himself, but can he win you some regular season games on his own? He definitely can. And so,
oh yeah, you're right, Shaun. He won 6.
clip what you just said. Clip
6
all
games.
of this.
Congratulations, 6 games. That's what he won you. How many 6-win seasons do you have under Jimmy?
Think they had one, and it was 2020.
And we think Jimmy is shit.
In hindsight, Jimmy was
only good with the Niners because that's all the weapons around him. The GM said it best. He's only good for them. A GM said that, not Kevin Dent. A general manager said to Adam Schefter. So if they think it, but when I say it, it's crazy.
One GM. One GM.
I'm a dude with no experience. I'm a fan. That dude gets paid to make decisions, and he said, I'm good.
Well, Demetrius Jones makes a great point on YouTube when he says, I'm a Packers fan, and I think Purdy is going to be great.
I think Kevin's just screaming.
Everyone's going to be healthy. There's no problems. You know what?
Who is everyone?
Congratulations. You don't got Jennings out there as your wide receiver 1. You got CMC. There's no more Isaac Garendo. There's no more anybody in the back. Congratulations. It's nice when it's sunny outside and you can wear shorts, but you don't wear shorts outside when it's raining because you can't handle the rain. It's easy to be good when
it's not sunny outside. We just went 6-11.
Exactly, because everything around him was shit. So what was he? Shit. You surround shit with shit, it just looks like shit and it smells like shit.
Please click.
Well, Kevin said when it's sunny. Speaking of sunniness, it's currently sunny in Philadelphia, and I'm not talking about the show, as the Eagles, the Super Bowl champions, have extended their head coach, Nick Sirianni. The details, from what I could find, have not come out yet, as it has just been reported as a multi-year contract extension with the Eagles and Sirianni. And in 4 seasons as the Eagles head coach, Nick Sirianni is a Super Bowl champion, has made 2 Super Bowl appearances. He's made the playoffs every year, 48-20 in the regular season, and he has the highest regular season winning percentage among active head coaches at 706, meaning he has won 70% of his games through 4 seasons in the NFL. And I just wanted to also just read, when it comes to this multi-year contract extension between the Eagles and Nick Sirianni, I wanted to read what the Eagles chairman and CEO, Jeffrey Lurie, said about it. As an organization, we have always strived to create a championship culture of sustained success. Nothing is more important to fostering such an environment than having tremendous leadership. Nick has embodied everything we were looking for in a head coach since we hired him 4 years ago. His authentic style of leadership, football intelligence, passion for the game, and growth mindset have helped to bring out the best in our team. I'm excited for what the future holds for the Philadelphia Eagles. And so, Kevin, we just had a passionate discussion about Toddy and I's favorite team, San Francisco 49ers. Now, when it comes to your favorite team, the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, what do you think about them extending Nick Sirianni?
Deservedly so. Shaun mentioned all the numbers. I got some other numbers that Shaun did not mention. Highest winning percentage
of course he does.
By a head coach in the Super Bowl era. You guys know who Vince Lombardi is?
Oh, yes.
75% winning percentage. John Madden, 73.9. You guys have played Madden before, right? Who's third on that list? Shaun mentioned it, 70.1 winning percentage, Nick Sirianni. It's easy to say that, oh, Kevin, you got AJ, you got Saquon. They all ain't been there for 4 years. He took shit to the playoffs. Yes, we lost 35-15. Yes, I get it. We were a bad team. But you're not going to sit around in Philadelphia and say we weren't good because we didn't have the weapons. So I know we're catching up on time here, so I'm gonna be short.
What was the Dan Campbell debate, Kevin? We had it was a couple of years ago. It was like Dan Campbell versus Sirianni, and they basically were kind of around the same as far as wins goes. I think people were leaning more towards Dan Campbell because his team was kind of trending upwards. I think this was a little bit right before you guys signed Saquon Barkley, and then basically exploded. Pause, and then went to the Super Bowl, made everything happen. But I kind of wanted to get your thoughts. I wanted to circle back to that because that was a topic that kind of really fired you up. And these are two NFC coaches, I'd say really good NFC coaches. One now has a Super Bowl, but at the time it was kind of like, who would you rather have? I just wanted to get your thoughts on where you think Sirianni is as a whole in the landscape of NFL coaches goes.
NFL coaches, he's the second best coach in the NFL.
Okay. Number 2.
Yep. Only person I'm gonna give is Big Red.
Big Red.
You know,
McVay's not in there. There's Harbaugh, Tomlin. You know, there are guys like that.
McVay was a one-hit wonder. Tomlin ain't really Tomlin. I mean, he's won 2 Super Bowls. I mean, that's congrats. But I mean, how many years has it been?
I was like, okay.
How many years has it been?
So you're wondering where what have you done for me lately, type of guy?
It's not what have you done for me lately. What have you done for me in the decade?
Okay, decade.
Well, that's a long time of 9 and 8 seasons, 1 game in the playoff losses. You know, Kyle Shanahan's always praised for being this offensive mind. What does his hardware look like?
I mean, and then there's other guys too, like younger coaches. There's D'Amico Ryan's up and coming. There's John Harbaugh, guy who's been there several times. McDermott's another guy that we like to mention, who I was blanking on earlier. But I mean, just you're putting in. I mean, this is a guy, Nick Sirianni, whose job was kind of under. A lot of people were kind of very skeptical on if they didn't perform after the Saquon contract. Guys were kind of calling for his job.
Don't let Twitter trolls like me make you think that. No one was
like me.
The seat was hot, because if Kyle Shanahan can go 6-11 keeping a job, Nick Sirianni could win 2 games to keep a job. So,
or Nick Sirianni can flame out from a 10-1 season into a wild card loss.
And what was the finishing record, Shaun?
Yeah, wasn't it like 11-5 or something like that?
And then you said wild card, right? So that means we made the dance.
Yes.
Can't hear you from outside the dance.
Well, Kevin,
when I promised I'd pay for my ticket, I look at my receipt. I have it right here. You can't get in. You don't 6 games don't get you into the dance.
While I understand, but while I understand the point that you're making there, like this is so ironic that Toddy and I are getting the torture of our 6-11 season all throughout this very long offseason that we've had thus far, is because we were roasting you last season for how the Eagles ended their season. And so now it's deserved how we are getting it dished back for our 6-11.
You can sit here and roast me, but like I told you last season, 15, 17 teams would prefer to go 10-1 and burn out. And that means they did something good. The Jacksonville Jaguars would have preferred that. The Browns, the Giants.
Love that.
Oh.
The Cardinals. A lot of teams would have preferred to go 10-7. A lot of teams would have preferred that because that's a winning season. A lot of teams can't say they have winning seasons. So to say that is insane. I don't see how serious.
Kevin is reading the for audio only listeners.
He's a raw guy with a super team.
Hold on, Kevin. Kevin, go ahead. Start and read the comment. Yeah, go ahead.
So James, so Lil Shame 17th. I don't see how Sirianni could be a top coach. He doesn't run the offense or defense. He's a raw guy with a super team. James, you're on the live. Pull up 2021 Eagles roster and record and come back and comment and tell me if that's a super team.
We're not talking about 21. We're talking about.
But I'm saying he's only a raw guy with a super team. He's gone to the Shaun mentioned he's gone to the playoffs every year he's been there. We haven't had.
They win a Super Bowl in 2021.
Raw team every season he's been there. So for you to say he's only good as a raw guy when we're good is completely wrong.
Who's calling the plays this year?
Kevin Patino or not Patino? That's definitely not his name.
Kevin doesn't know.
He's our
Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio is calling the defense. I would assume that he's one of the top defensive. He was a head coach at one point in time, so I respected him. Kevin and I and Shaun and I respect him as a defensive mind. So we knew what he was going to bring to the table. It kind of came down to what Kellen Moore was going to bring because he made a lateral move from going from, I believe it was L.A. with the Chargers and Justin Herbert, and kind of go be the OC for the Eagles. And we kind of were like on the fence about what he was going to look like because he was with the Dallas Cowboys, then he was with the Chargers, and then him making another lateral move to go into the Eagles. It ended up paying off for him because they ended up winning the Super Bowl, obviously. But Sirianni has been a guy in the past who was calling plays, and he relinquished that duty and said, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to focus more on the team. So I think Cousin James brings up a valid point, and he doesn't call plays. He doesn't do this, but he still is able to get his team to win these types of games and in critical situations to win, make those types of 4th and 3. I'm going to give Sirianni a little bit more credit than he deserves. I don't know if he's a top 2 coach in the league. I get he just won a Super Bowl, but I think there are other guys in the NFL that I'd rather have.
Like Dan Campbell, right? Who doesn't call plays.
Dan Campbell?
Yeah, he doesn't do shit. But
he does it. So he's another guy that you have to look at because his coordinators are now gone. So you're going to have to look at him from another light of hiring the right offensive, defensive coordinators to make his team and make that engine still run the same way because they were a team, I'd say, the year that before that they kind of bubbled and burst onto the scene, they were kind of like scrapping to be that last team in the playoffs when they played against the Packers, which was Aaron Rodgers' last game as a Packer, if I'm not mistaken. And they won that game. People were like, watch out for the Lions. And then the Lions kind of burst onto the scene. So now that both of his coordinators are now gone, you're going to have to look at that same team and be like, how good are they actually going to be when those guys aren't calling plays anymore?
So, Shaun, I saw that you made a comment. I want you to give me your top 5 coaches in the NFL.
All right. So, and for the audio only listeners, my comment, I commented on our YouTube feed because I wanted to test a little bit of this new technology we got. We got a beta version of showing comments on the stage, as we can see in the bottom right corner. So I'll have to redesign the backdrop graphics so then we can start seeing everyone's comments feed through without us needing to display them. As we see, James had his comment just come through. So gotta work on the background. Anyway, sorry, that was just the technical aspect of it. My comment is Sirianni deserved to be extended, but he's not top 2. So, Kevin, I heard you when I had to step away for a moment. You were saying that Big Red, a.k.a. Andy Reid, is number 1, and then you got Sirianni too. For me, I'm going to take Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh.
Not 2.
Well, okay.
Let him do his list, and we can all
maybe I don't put Mike Tomlin at number 2, but I'm just saying
who I have on that shit. Don't let him get in your head. If you say 2, he's 2.
No. I would probably put John Harbaugh number 2 because he has a more recent Super Bowl title than Mike Tomlin. But I was just naming coaches that I'd rather have. Okay, so I'd rather have Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, and this next one's kind of tough. I want to name Kyle Shanahan, but he doesn't have a Super Bowl championship. I would take Sean McVay over Nick Sirianni. I would take
another guy who's only
Sean Payton. I would take Sean Payton.
Another guy who only has one good season.
Okay. As of right now, Nick Sirianni has 1 Super Bowl ring to show for it. Like, yeah, he made 2 Super Bowl appearances and he lost. Kyle Shanahan did that too. And no one gives a shit about Kyle Shanahan's record. And so I think I just named 6 guys. I would take those 6 guys over Sirianni.
That's not the
right
question
now.
you asked. You said he wasn't top 2. Those are guys you prefer to have. You didn't say this is my top 5 guys.
All right. Here's my top 5 guys. Number 1, Andy Reid. Number 2, John Harbaugh. Number 3, Mike Tomlin. Number 4, Sean McVay. And number 5, I'm going to put Sean Payton in there.
So what has Sean McVay done that Nick hasn't done?
To me, Sean McVay has...
Not to you. Let's stick to the facts. What has Sean McVay done that Nick hasn't?
Okay, so now we're just looking straight up at resumes.
Yeah. What has he done that Nick hasn't?
I mean, you make a fair point, but to me, when like the way in which you asked the question, great. Like that was like some lawyer shit right there. The way you framed it, like perfect. But so to answer your question, I don't have a response because you're right. Like I don't have a response as to what McVay has done that Sirianni hasn't. But the reason why I would take McVay over Sirianni is because McVay is the guy out there calling the plays. And to me, he's built more of a sustained winner. And also what we've seen from Sean Payton, where Sean Payton has not only done it in New Orleans, but then he went to Denver, which wasn't working out quite well, and he's revitalized that team. And as Toddy's displaying the comments from Cousin James on the screen right now, I'll just take a moment to read them for the audio-only listeners.
No, let me do this one. Let me do this one.
Okay.
So James took what I said and said, let me look it up. God damn it, Kevin got me. Let me just mention the 3 seasons, but let me not mention the 4 seasons. So good job, James. You know how to Google, and you backed out because he's been there for 4 years, but you only want to mention 3 when we were really, really good. So that's cute. That we went with a bad team to the playoffs, but you don't want to give him the credit, and that's fine. That's fine, James. But the comment was, my point is he always had talent around him, which is false. I was talking about these last 3 seasons. We understand because you looked at the 4th season and said, damn it, Kevin, he got me. He's a pep talk guy. He makes sure his team is always ready to play and that the players love. Don't all NFL teams want coaches that NFL players love? I mean, isn't that the rule? But Nick gets punished for it. But if Dan Campbell would have won a Super Bowl, he would have been praised from the mountaintops. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I do think that the key difference there when it comes to Nick Sirianni or Dan Campbell is that where they are. Dan Campbell is in a place that has never won. Nick Sirianni, they've won as recent as
they won 1 time. Just because they never did it and we did it once doesn't make it. He's not.
But you've done it.
He's not coaching the 49ers.
But Kevin, you should. But
one good season. One good season, and you're gonna say Dan Campbell took a team from hell to the risen up to the mountaintops? The Eagles were shit. We had 1 season with Nick Foles. That's why you only see two jerseys behind me. 1 good Super Bowl, 1 good season.
I think what
you can say they both picked up shit. One person picked shit over the finish line.
If a bunch of these coaches tomorrow were just randomly let go from their team, I don't think Sirianni is at the top of everyone's list.
I don't know why. He has the same amount of rings as Sean Payton and Sean McVay. The guys that and Jim and John Harbaugh. But I mean, hey, what does Kevin know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's what does Kevin knows. What do GMs know?
Belichick is in the coaching portal. The only guy that really
he wasn't. He was a guy who was in the coaching portal. Nobody wanted him.
Top tier, and that's fucking Big Red. Every other coach, it's pick and play. I get it.
All right.
Shaun mentioned Mike Tomlin. When we were in middle school, he was winning Super Bowls. We're all way, way, way past middle school. Toddy got a kid. Like, we're way past being in middle school, going to the lunch line.
And he's still the coach of the Steelers. That should stand for something.
Going 9-8?
I mean, yeah, considering that he's never had a losing season, it's not like we talk about, the 49ers went 6-11 this past season. No, in 2020, they went 6-10. That shit happens more often than not. And so despite everything, the fact that Mike Tomlin has gone all this time without a losing season, he's been the coach of the Steelers for like 20 years, and he's never had a losing season. That should be commended, whether if he has won Super Bowl or not. That's what I wouldn't necessarily say that's sustained greatness, but that's sustained winning. And that's what we all want for our team. And Kevin, the last thing that I have to say about this, and the reason why I was driving home the point about the difference of Dan Campbell winning a Super Bowl for the Lions versus the Eagles winning their second. And you should know this as a Sacramento Kings fan. If/when the Kings finally get their 1, that 1 will be the biggest moment in this city's history. That's what it would be for Detroit. Detroit has won championships in basketball. They've won championships in baseball, but they've never won it with the Detroit Lions. And so that's why it would be such a big deal.
Competitive. You can't compare the Lions to the Kings.
Yes, you can. What makes you think that?
Matthew Stafford and Megatron were going to the playoffs every year. The Kings don't do that.
They weren't going to the playoffs every year, if I remember correctly. I
They
remember
were.
multiple wild card exits for Matt Stafford on the Detroit
wild
Lions.
card exits. You can't party in the dance if you can't get in.
Yeah, and the Kings are like, I mean,
back in the line,
years,
the line outside the door.
Well, for years, the Kings would always be compared with the Cleveland Browns. Like the Kings were the Cleveland Browns of the NBA. And that's definitely more accurate. But you get the point. The Kings have never won a championship. The Lions have never won a championship. Both fan bases are starved for it. So that's why, yes, the Eagles have only won one before Nick Sirianni, but it's still one. It wasn't the first one. Because that's why Dougie P is a legend for life in Philadelphia. Exactly. Because he got that first
Sirianni
one.
gets statue, Kev?
See, that's the big difference too. Is that Sirianni won a Super Bowl? Sirianni has done the same thing as Peterson, but it wasn't the first. So that's that statue. It's not as guaranteed.
He'll definitely. I mean, because he's not going to finish with one.
So. I knew Kevin was going to say that. I knew he was going to say that. As we keep things moving here on episode 144 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon, Toddy, and Kevin Dent. Kevin, you want to jump in real quickly before we get to the NBA?
He just keeps coming back. He keeps coming back for more and more. So he said, I wasn't backing out of the question. It doesn't really matter. His team went 9-8, stuck into the playoffs. Teams do it all the time. Isn't James a Niner fan?
Yes.
Y'all didn't do it, so everyone doesn't do it. Let's move on.
As we keep things moving here on episode 144, guys, the NBA playoffs are in full swing right now as we get into the conference finals. But before we get to the conference finals that have each already played one game, we got to pick up where we last left off. And for the audio-only listeners, you probably just heard a massive sigh come from the mouth of Jaevon Toddy, and that's because his Celtics will not be repeating as champions, as the Celtics got eliminated, Jaevon, in 6 games against the New York Knicks without Jason Tatum. Last week, we had to talk about the injury to Jason Tatum, and the Celtics were able to avoid elimination in Game 5, but they ultimately, and this is a Toddy phrase right here, so I'll just repeat it. The Celtics got their ass handed to them by the Knicks in Game 6. And so, Toddy, if you could, oh my God, I was wondering why Kevin stepped off the screen, and now we know why. The audio-only listeners, Kevin just returned wearing an Oklahoma City jersey, which is massive shade being thrown to West.
What kind of Oklahoma City jersey is it?
That's a Kevin Durant jersey.
Yeah, brother. You see the Adidas on it. This is an old jersey.
So, Toddy, before we get to the Oklahoma City Thunder advancing past the Nuggets in 7 games, your Celtics got eliminated by the Knicks in 6. That's where we last left off last week. And so, Toddy, if you could, please read the obituary for your Boston Celtics.
The end is here. This is we will not see this exact same team as constructed currently. Some moves are going to be made. Now, ownership already came out and said before, like, we were even in this position, hey, we're going to shake things up a little bit. We're not trying to pay all this money. Now, granted, we basically took the bill upon last year because you guys won the championship, so that was warranted. But now we got to, get our feet wet and kind of settle in and make some changes as constructed. But obviously, Jason Tatum goes down with the Achilles injury. We already spoke on that last week. I'm not sure if that would have changed anything technically because we were already down 2-1 at the time. JT had 40. We were down 9 still.
11.
Porzingis had the swine flu or whatever it was that he had going into it. He just couldn't do anything. He was MIA. And then reports obviously came out about Jaylen Brown, how he played with a torn MCL. I don't know what's going to happen next year. I think JB should be ready for next year. Tatum's going to be out, I would imagine, the entire year. There are definitely going to be some trade talks, especially with this draft coming up. I do love this draft currently. A lot of good talent. Kev could tell you that himself. I don't know if we're going to trade Jaylen Brown. I do think Porzingis is gone. I do think Drew Holiday is probably gone. maybe I don't want to trade Derek White, but if the right offer comes about, we may or may not have to make that move. The big question is Jaylen Brown. What are you going to do with him? I've seen numerous amounts of trades kind of going back and forth, but I don't know what that's going to look like. As far as the series goes, I mean, the Knicks were down 20 points in both game 1 and game 2. Celtics were in the driver's seat. Both of those. We're up 20 points in the first 3 games and only won one of those games. And that, ironically, was not at home. I mean, the Knicks just had no quit in them. Jalen Brunson is an absolute monster. We saw even last night he had 40. We'll get into that game a little bit later. But as far as the Celtics, we're going to see there are definitely going to be some changes. This is not going to be the same team. We're not going to run it back. Changes will be made. And are we going to suck next year? That's another possibility that's going to be up in the air. Are we going to be – I don't know if our team – like the will of our team to be bad is in our blood at all. So I think that we're going to probably make some changes. Absolutely. But I do think things are going to be changing pretty soon. So if we get a top 5 pick in this year's draft, I don't know, maybe if we get that, Jaylen Brown's probably gone. And that's going to be a tough pill to swallow, but all possibilities are in the air for this offseason and going into next year. So we could suck next year, get a top pick when Jason Tatum comes back for the reload and still have Jaylen Brown. That's another thing. We could create another timeline that way, but I don't think our team's going to be that bad next year.
Kevin, we see you wearing the Kevin Durant Oklahoma City Thunder jersey. And so if you could, please wrap up the conference semifinals for us, as the Thunder did lose game 6 in Denver when we last left off last week. We recorded on Thursday afternoon, and that game 6 took place at night. And so the Nuggets did ultimately win game 6, but they got absolutely throttled in game 7 despite a strong start on Sunday. And the other news with the Nuggets, as the Thunder have now moved on to the conference finals for the first time since 2015 or 2016, and we will get to that. Was it 2016 or 2017? Actually, I'm starting 17. Thank you, Kevin. Right when I said 15, I was like, that's definitely wrong. I thought it was 16. No, it was 17. Thank you, Kevin, for correcting me on that. And so anyways, we'll talk about the Thunder more in a moment in the jersey that you're wearing. But if you could, Kevin, write the obituary for the Denver Nuggets, who now have a new full-time head coach in David Adelman, who has been elevated from the interim tag to full-time to replace Michael Malone.
Well, you heard about it in the post-game conferences, all conversations. All of the players really said they loved him. They loved what he brought. They loved the diversity he brought to this team. So everyone was really all in for it. So it's not really his fault the way the season played out. But that's the reason a general manager was fired. They cleared house because this team wasn't built to win a championship this season. And I get it. You can say the finals team they had was very similar. But, going into game 7, if Aaron Gordon is healthy, I think this is a different game. But with Aaron Gordon being down on a grade 2 hamstring and even attempting to play out there, I know you guys.
Aaron Gordon gonna make up 30 points, Kev.
Yeah, there's a lot more. We saw last season when OG did one up and back on a grade 2 hamstring and had to be done. Aaron Gordon,
but they lost by 30.
Aaron Gordon played 25 minutes. None of the starters played the fourth quarter. So you also got to put that in there.
Aaron Gordon's healthy. I don't know. They might not lose by 30.
Changed because Jamal Murray is not that guy. I know everyone says Bubble Murray. 5 years ago, that guy does not live here anymore.
Well, Kevin, I have to interject for just a moment to say Jamal Murray balled out in game 6 as he was questionable going into that game with the flu or some type of sickness. He was still sick going into game 7. And yeah, he did not play well at all in game 7, but he balled out in game 6. I know it's kind of the James Harden thing where James Harden balled out in game 6 and then did terrible in game 7. Jamal Murray, similar script, but Jamal Murray was at least sick. And I just have to say, while I have the mic as well, shout out to Aaron Gordon, because the fact that he played through a grade 2 hamstring and he was just out there hobbling around, couldn't even run at full speed, that injury would have guys out for at least a month, maybe a couple months. And for him to play through that with whatever pain medicine he had, props to Aaron Gordon. That's the biggest thing I had to say from that. But please close us out, Kevin.
It was all adrenaline.
Jamal Murray is not that guy, Shaun. I get it. Great game 6. Let me go through these 7 games. 20 points, 4 points, 6 points, 27, 9 points, 10 points, 33 game 6 that Shaun's talking about, then 15.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to say, he had a good game 6, but there were 5 other games before game 6 and a game after game 6.
That 27-point game was good, but 2 out of 7 games is not a great semifinals.
Yeah. 3 games with single digits, and 1 other game with 10, and then all the other games were over 10. The Joker single-handedly carried this team. He gave all he could. In the first quarter, they came out hot. And then as soon as he said that, they get every time someone's doing really well, I check the group chat because the famous Toddy Jinx is coming. He said, uh-oh, the Nuggets came out rolling, and then Uncle Manny got it in the mix, and then it went downhill real quick. Toddy loves to come in here and say, oh, here it comes, and then there it goes, just like that. The Denver Nuggets, they got to figure it out. Christian Brown cannot be your second best player. Michael Porter was once noted as a generational talent. Then he had the back problems and things like that. So they're going to have to blow this team up. And it's not going to be Jamal Murray because he pays too much. They pay too much money. So is it Michael Porter Jr. This is a team that really has to develop their youth. We saw with the Thunder. Yes, we can mention the SGAs, the J-Dubs, the Chats, but they got guys like Carson Williams and the other Jalen Williams, Lou Dort. They develop really well. So when you're a team that's winning a lot of games, you're not picking at the very top. So you have to learn how to develop talent. And the Nuggets have just not developed talent. Like, I get it. What's his name? Julian Slaughter had a great game 6. Strother. Great game 6. Game 7, couldn't throw a beach ball into the ocean. So you got to get consistent development with this team. And until they get there, they're going to be far behind the 8 ball in the West. The West is only getting better. So it's going to be really hard for the Denver Nuggets to compete. But, we'll see how it all kind of plays out. But as far as them in this season, hell of a run. To throw a coach in there with 10 games left in the season and make it to the second round, you got to give them a lot of credit. And to go back-to-back series with 2 game 7s, you got to give them credit where credit is due. They could have folded in game 6, but they fought back, did what they could, and unfortunately, like Toddy said, they did lose by 30.
And so now that brings us to the conference finals, which started on Tuesday, and now here we are on Thursday afternoon, and each series has 1 game in the books. I want to start off with last night because, man, that ending was crazy. But we're going to stick in the Western Conference. We're going to stick with Kevin's jersey. As for the audio-only listeners right now, Kevin and Jaevon both displayed a choking celebration that was done by Tyrese Halliburton a la Reggie Miller last night. Yes, thank you, former King. I almost wore my Tyrese Halliburton today on the episode, but I decided to abstain. Maybe we'll see it next week. But anyways, we're going to stick in the Western Conference for now just because Kevin just spoke about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And in game 1, there could have been another brutal injury as Anthony Edwards sprained his ankle again in these playoffs, goes back to the locker room, gets it retaped. He's out there hobbling around, but he was able to play through it. And I don't think Anthony Edwards would blame his ankle for the reason that the Wolves lost game 1. But Kevin, because of the jersey that you're wearing and because one of your closest friends is a Minnesota fan, one of the few that I know of. Yeah. I guess he's a well, Kevin, what's the backstory with that Thunder jersey? Because obviously you're one of the biggest LeBron stans I know, and Kevin Durant is a big competitor of LeBron James. So what's the backstory with that jersey?
My grandma got the jersey because obviously we share the same initials. So God rest in peace, my grandmother. But she got me the jersey. I've never worn it. This is the first time it's ever been on my back.
Wow, that's special.
So I had to come on here and troll. But getting into this game, I told everybody, it's nice when you're playing the Lakers. They got no defenders. It's nice when you're playing the Warriors with no Steph. Whole different ball game playing the Thunder. Whole different ball game. Shea. Everyone wants to say that he shoots too many free throws. He's a free throw merchant. He foul based. The refs wanted him that game. That's all West is going to say. Shea is So every other player that averaged 30 points in the NBA has shot an average of 10 free throws per game to Shai's 8. Shai has 12th most free throws, or 12th in attempts of free throws per game for MVP since 2002. So yes, you can say he's a foul merchant. Yes, you can say that, but the facts don't show that. This Oklahoma City Thunder team is the best defense in the world. They averaged 17 turnovers in the regular season. In the playoffs, they have now bumped that to 19. In game 1 alone, they forced 13 steals. The Thunder were coming off of 1 day's rest. The Warriors were coming off of 6 days rest. This just goes to there's levels to this shit. You're sitting at home on your ass. These guys are winning games. The Thunder shot 10 of 16 from open threes. The Minnesota Timberwolves shot 11 of 39. Ant-Man, Spider-Man, Batman, Ant's not that. He's not that. He had 1 shot. He shot 13 shots, and one of them, Toddy, was by the rim. You want to know his average shot distance was 26 inches. 26. That is the highest in his career. 13 shot attempts was the lowest of his playoffs. This playoffs. He's got to show up. We saw game 1 last round. He didn't show up either. So when he doesn't show up, this team does not win. Rudy Gobert played 21 minutes in this game because the Thunder said, you know what, Rudy? We're going to play small ball. Now you can't play. So now there's no rim protector. Shai is getting to the cup. Jalen Williams is getting to the dub. Caruso is doing what he does. Ant-Man, like I said, you can sit here and say it was a bad shooting night. They've had a lot of bad shooting nights. I guess they only did against the Lakers. But the Timberwolves are in trouble. Me and my sister were the only ones to choose the Thunder to win this series. So the guys above me, I know they're sweating their boots. Just to give you a little bit of insight of the picks tonight, they are both doing it again. It seems like they are going down with the ship. But
it's game 2.
It's looking ugly. So I wanted to give you guys a little Kevin trivia. So in this, the Thunder versus the Warriors is a matchup of the 2 top leading scorers in the total points in the NBA. This has only happened 4 times. This is the first time since 2015. Can you guys name me can you guys guess the other 4 matchups of the top 2 total scorers playing in either the NBA Finals or the Conference Finals? And I'm going to give you a year because it goes back to 1997.
Okay, well, one of my guesses is James Harden and Kevin Durant in like 2017, 2018. No.
LeBron.
Yeah, give me the other person.
Well, he's one of them, right?
Well, there's 2 people. You got to give me both guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so LeBron's one.
LeBron,
Is Shai the other one?
No, Ty. So what thing is it's the 2 guys in total points playing against each other.
Oh,
LeBron and KD.
Yes, 2012, LeBron and KD.
Oh,
yeah.
So
okay.
3 other times it happened.
There we go.
2 other times. So LeBron and KD
In 2012.
LeBron and Steph?
It's not. No, and it's not Kobe and any of the Celtics or Kobe and Dwight Howard. No.
Michael Jordan and Karl Malone?
Yes,
he
Ty,
did
in 1997 and 1998. So now there's only one other one.
Okay, great pull, Toddy, because I was about to say right when you said it, I was like, okay, he did say 97, so yeah. All right, so it's happened one other time. So we got LeBron and KD, Karl Malone and Michael Jordan. It's happened one other time. Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant. No,
that's a good pull, though.
Thank you.
What's the last one, Kev?
You guys, I'll give you a
wait.
year. I'm about to say you're gonna kick yourself when I tell you.
Give us the year.
2015.
Oh, okay. So it was LeBron.
But it's conference finals or finals. It's not just the finals.
Oh, wait. So was it Steph and KD?
Who'd they play in the
2015? And I already guessed. Oh, was it Steph and James Harden?
Yes, sir. That is the thing.
I knew I was on to something with James Harden earlier, but I thought it was Harden and KD.
Yeah.
That's definitely a kicking myself moment right there. Because Harden was the first name that came in my mind where I'm like, all right, he is always near the top of points average per game. Okay, so that makes sense. But Toddy, if you wanted to comment on this series, just as my fellow supporter of the Timberwolves in this series, because the Wolves are back, just what are your thoughts on this series overall and what we saw in Game 1?
We'll have to see the extent of Ant's injury. I don't know. I think he'll be okay. But did you guys see Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle at the end of the at the post game? They looked at the piece of paper and they just laughed.
Yeah.
What were they laughing at? Do you know? Was it the free throws?
Free throws.
So Shea shot, I think it was 14 or 15 free throws, which was basically what Ant and Julius Randle shot combined. 7 of those free.
I only shoot one basket towards the rim.
7 of those free throws were in like the first 4 minutes of the game. So it was established early how the refs were going to call that game, which I thought was kind of strange. But the Wolves were hitting their threes early on. Like Nikhil Alexander-Walker was hitting threes, Jaden McDaniels was hitting threes, Ant was hitting threes, Julius Randle. So everything was kind of copacetic going forward. But I think the Ant injury kind of slowed them down a little bit, and he was a little hobbled, and that kind of gave the talk of the town for the OKC Thunder throughout the playoffs is their points off of turnovers. And if they're able to score this, that, and the third points off of turnovers, you're not going to beat them. And that was kind of the story of the second half. Wolves were turning the ball over. You got J-Dub, you got Chet. Those guys are running, looking for lanes and trying to score points off turnovers quick, fast, in a hurry. And I think if you get into that brand of basketball, the Nuggets were able to show in that series, if you're able to kind of slow them down in the half court, because we've said time and time again on this podcast, everything slows down in the playoffs. And for this young team with OKC, their half court offense is kind of just, all right, Shea, come off the screen and mid-range. That's pretty much their half court offense. They thrive off of transition, points off of turnovers, getting into early offense. When you force them to kind of play a certain style of basketball, it's tough for them. But as Kevin already mentioned, they went smaller and kind of took Rudy Gobert out of the game in a sense and was like, you guys have to figure out another way on how to beat us. So it's going to be a chess matchup, I think. I think this series does go 7 games. I did have, I believe it was the Wolves in 7 games to win the series because I just think Ant is too good of a player. And they were already in the conference finals, or what was the conference finals last year? Yes, it was the conference finals last year. So they're going to have to. There's going to be some growing pains for sure with both teams because both teams are still fairly young. Oh, I picked the Wolves.
Shaun. I literally had that up, but I was
Wolves in 6 games. Sorry. So I think what's going to happen is Ant's got to get going, and Julius has got to get going, and they're going to need those other guys like Nikhil Alexander-Walker. And Jaden McDaniels, Jaden McDaniels had a 40-point game in the playoffs. Now, albeit it was against the Lakers, as Kevin already mentioned, you got a bunch of cones in front of you. It's going to be a lot easier. But these two teams are the number 1 and number 2 defensive rated team in the NBA. So a lot of unders I would like to project if you guys are betting people. I know my pop in the back. He's a gambling man.
Not a line.
The under for sure is going to be prime in a lot of these games because I think we'll see a lot of defensive plays being made. And it's gonna go a long way. For OKC, we saw in game 6 against the Nuggets, J-Dub had a terrible game. Game 7, he came out and he hooped. Shea's going to be Shea. He's going to get his 25-30 pretty much every game. All those other guys like Caruso, guys like J-Dub, guys like Chet, Hartenstein, who's hitting that little left-handed floater that he's kind of developed over the past couple of years. Everything is kind of primed for OKC to win these first 2 games at home. If they go up 2-0, they'll be feeling pretty comfortable with them having home court advantage already in their back pocket. So for this Thunder team, who is young, as I already mentioned, they're pretty much in the driver's seat after winning game 1. Now, for the Wolves, they have to make their adjustments as far as the matchups that will be given to them with one of their better players who is making $200 million. He's not on the floor. So you're going to have to figure out how to outdo that matchup, or Ant's just got to just go nuclear. And that's what I'm kind of thinking is going to happen, because I've seen it time and time again in the playoffs where Ant just has a spectacular game. We're like, oh my God, this is the best player in the league.
Well, it should be noted, as Toddy just did earlier, that Toddy has the Wolves winning this series in 6. I have the Wolves in 7. Kevin has the Thunder in 6. Alex has the Thunder in 7. And something else that I think should be noted, just from my own perspective on this, is that even if the Thunder win the first 2 games of this series at home, I'm not saying that this series is over, because they're doing what they're expected to do. We've seen so much chaos with road teams winning in this year's playoffs that it's like, oh my God, excuse me. Oh my God, someone won the first 2 games of a series. It must be over. No, it's not the case at all. They're just maintaining home court advantage. If Minnesota loses game 3 after they're down 0-2, okay, yeah, it's over, because no team has ever come back from down 3-0. But 2 games, I'm not too worried about that. And something else I wanted to say about this series in general is that for the first time since 1996, the Western Conference Finals is being played outside of Texas or California.
Oh, yeah, I saw that stat. That was pretty crazy.
That's pretty crazy, that for the first time in our collective lifetimes.
So I'm like, it's either the Warriors,
Lakers, even Clippers snuck in there.
The Mavericks were in it.
Yeah.
I guess San Antonio, for all those years, they were in it.
Exactly. And so yeah, it's pretty crazy that that's the case. And something else that I wanted to mention is this is probably the best possible Final Four that we have had in years, Toddy. And the reason why I say that, you probably disagree because your Celtics aren't in it. But the reason why I say that is the last 4 teams in the playoffs have a combined 2 championships. And those both belong to the Knicks. And the most recent one was 52 years ago. So we're going to witness a champion for the first time ever, or for the first time in 52 years. We have a 75% chance to see a first time ever champion. Which earlier we were talking about.
Just starving for a championship for sure.
Yeah, technically Oklahoma City, formerly of Seattle, won the NBA championship in 1979, which was even more recent than the Knicks' most recent championship. But the Oklahoma City Thunder
never experienced it.
And so that would be pretty cool to see a first-time NBA champion in these playoffs. And now that brings us to the Eastern Conference Finals, Jaevon, because the Eastern Conference Finals started last night in New York, and man, what a start it was, because the Pacers were down by 17 points with 6 minutes to go in this game. They were down by 14 with 2 minutes and 51 seconds left in this game. And somehow they came back to not only tie the game and send it to overtime, but they won by 3 points. And I got a couple of crazy statistics when it comes to that. Since 1996-97, teams have trailed by 7+ points in the final 50 seconds of the fourth quarter or overtime in the playoffs are 4 and 1,702. The Pacers have 3 of those wins all this season. It's only happened once in 1,700 games before this season, dating back to 96-97. The Pacers have tripled that throughout these playoffs, which is just so crazy. And now also another stat that's even crazier, because the Pacers were the first to ever do it, is that teams had a record of 0 and 1,414 when they trailed by 9+ points in the final minute of the fourth quarter or overtime of a playoff game since 1998 entering Wednesday. And as SportsCenter noted, you can now make that 1 in 1,414. It's like Paul Heyman would always say when Brock Lesnar broke the Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. He'd say, he is the 1 in 21-1. Well, the Pacers are now the 1 in 1,414. And so a hell of a comeback for the Pacers. in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And I want to highlight a comment from earlier from Uncle Manny where he said, "Hello, guys. Some great NBA action, especially last night. Pacers never quit. Attitude is amazing." And so, Toddy, obviously the Knicks took out your Celtics, and the Pacers, they are just chugging along throughout these playoffs. And so what are your thoughts on this series in its entirety, but also on last night's crazy game 1?
Yeah, so I have the Pacers winning the series. I believe it was in 7, if I'm not mistaken. This is going to be a very back and forth series. These two teams have a lot of history going back and forth. Dating back to when Reggie Miller was going at it with John Starks, Spike Lee being courtside. Like, they have a lot of history. Just going back into the 90s with, these two Eastern Conference teams. And it's now just been reborn. Even going back to last year, where I already mentioned the WWE when the Halliburton 317 and Jalen Brunson getting into it. I don't know. Was that on SmackDown or Raw? Whatever it was on Raw, SmackDown. It was on SmackDown. So it was obviously was in New York, and they kind of were getting into it. And I think the WWE is selling shirts, got to make a little bit of profit off of this.
Yeah, they sure are. Got to capitalize on everything.
It's pretty cool to see that aspect of it, but for it to be kind of coming into real life, and the Pacers outscored. I heard Van Gundy say on the broadcast they outscored the Knicks 20-6 in the last 2.5 minutes of the game, which was insane. And for the game to, everybody thought it was a game over. First glance, kind of bring the review out. Tyrese Halliburton, he has what, if you guys have seen the 30 for 30, the presence of mind to go and step, not to try and, go for the tie, try and win the game, or to sprint behind the 3-point line and try and win the game. I mean, he's already hit a game winner, once, twice in this play? In these
twice. Yeah, because he had one against Cleveland, and then he had the one that sent Milwaukee home. Yeah,
so Halliburton is a very controversial player in the NBA because we all know the list that came out about him being overrated, and his play in this playoff. Now, kind of just going back to the season itself, he didn't overrate that, as Shaun posts for the audio listeners. The shirt. I don't know if this is the shirt that the Pacers are selling.
I don't think
but it says overrate that in there. But I just think what he's been able to do in this playoffs, he may not have been. Well, last night he had 30 and 10. But as far as just being the top scorer, I gotta be the number one guy going into everything. I don't think that's Tyrese Halliburton's game. I think he's in control of the entire pace of the game and controls the offense and the team in every which way possible. And I think that is something that you can't put on a stat sheet, but he is indeed a franchise player. And he didn't make All NBA. He didn't make the All-Star team this year. So for him, he probably thought that he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder saying that, okay. And then for the list to kind of come out too, it was all just match made in heaven. Jalen Brunson is still awesome. He had 40 again last night. And he was crazy parties. I saw his gambling line that Jalen Brunson was like plus 110 to score 40 points at any point in time in the series. And he did it in game 1. So that was something that you could have just kicked your feet up on, and it was primed to happen at some point in time. But Nesmith had 29? Like I don't know if we'll see that again, but I think this Pacers team is built off of, they got a lot of guys who can score in the double digits. Pascal Siakam. We've seen Nembhard, who Nembhard has been shooting, I think, north of 40% in the playoffs, but he was a 29% three-point shooter the entire year for the 82 games. But he's upped his play. That's just another example of a guy who ups his play in the playoffs. TJ McConnell, I mean, Obi Toppin. I mean, they're just guys that and then Kev likes to mention Ben Mathurin, a guy that we both do like, who was absent in last year's Eastern Conference playoffs run. And now for them to kind of, I turned the game on with like 29 seconds left. They were down 5. I was like, it's over. Mm-hmm. They don't really have a chance. And little did I know that Nesmith was going to hit a 3, cut the game to 2 points, and then Cat missed free throws.
I think it was Cat or Anunoby?
I think it was Anunoby, or Cap missed one free throw. Neesmith hit the three. It went to 2 points. Anunoby gets fouled, misses the free throws. That was when Halliburton tried to go for the dagger. And if his foot was 2 sizes smaller, that would have won in an OT. And then I saw him at the press conference when he was saying that, when he did the choke symbol, because everyone thought it was over. Knicks thought it was over. Obviously, the Pacers thought it was over. And then for them to go to the monitor and say, hold on, we got another 5 minutes to play. Imagine if he does that and they end up losing in overtime. That would have been pretty insane. But
I'm so glad he didn't have to waste that celebration.
Yeah, he said he might bring it back. So I am wondering how much of the Knicks played 7 guys last night. They played their starting 5. Actually, I think it was 8. So they played McBride off the bench, Mitchell Robinson, obviously, and Campaign got 10 minutes. That's about it. So
yeah, but that's the Thibodeau special right there.
Tibbs is gonna play his guys. He's gonna ride till the wheels fall off. Whereas the Pacers, I can throw this guy at you. I can throw this other guy. Halliburton can get going at any point in time. So that game was stolen last night from the New York Knicks. Now we'll see if the Knicks bounce back in game 2. But all the momentum kind of the first game definitely sets the tone for the entire series, I would say. But there are chances for teams to come back. I think last night, in the fashion that it happened, was a little bit demoralizing for the Knicks, and especially how crazy that they went after they beat us in the semis. Streets were filing. You got guys doing interviews, people throwing shit at Brian Windhorst. They were just doing a little bit too much to go to the conference finals. So they got to respond for sure, because that city is, like Shaun said, 50 years has been since they won a title in New York. They're starving for a championship. So for them to go back to the conference finals and to lose in the fashion that they're up 14, 2.5 minutes left. Like this is not supposed to happen. Like, there's no way they shouldn't have won. And I know a lot of gamblers who had the Knicks minus 4.5 yesterday. For them to lose, oh man, I know Kevin was, he had a little something going for last night, but for them to lose last night in the fashion that they did, it's going to replay in that locker room over and over and over again. Like, we can't let this happen. We did it to the Celtics in the past series a couple of times. Can't let that fall back on us. So expect for the Knicks to come out swinging in game 2.
Well, Kevin, what do you think about this series? Because in this series, you ended up picking the Knicks to win game 1, just as Jaevon did, and it seemed like a brilliant pick, because as I was watching the end of that one, I was thinking to myself, I was like, damn, that Pacers pick for game 1 didn't look good. But overall for the series, Kevin, you're the only one who picked the Knicks to win this series in 6. I don't know if it's because Tyrese Halliburton's a former Sacramento King and you're bitter about that, or if you actually think the Knicks are going to win this series. But all three, the remaining 3 of us picked the Pacers to win. Toddy said in 7. Alex and I said in 6. And so just what are your thoughts on game 1 and the series overall, Kevin?
First off, I had my feet up. I said me and Shaun are going to have 43 wins together. I'm here. I finally got over the fucking hump. And then Aaron Neesmith, Reggie Miller 2.0. He scored 17 points in the last 150 seconds.
That's crazy.
That's insane. And I came on here time in and time out. The Pacers go as Tyrese Halliburton goes. He's not going to have the flashy box score numbers. I get it. 31-11 is very flashy. He averaged 18 down the season. He is the model of consistency. He's going to come out there. He's going to get his guys going early. And when it's time for him to shoot that shot, he's going to shoot that shot. Just a little backstory: when he hit that step back, Alyssa's in the bathtub, and I go, "What the fuck?" Ah! And I'm ready to go. She goes, "Kevin, she goes, you're like, I can't. You have to come watch it." She got out of the tub to come watch it, and she didn't know it was a 2. She goes, "Ah!" I'm like, "Nah, babe, hold on, keep watching this." But he jumped past it. I was like, "Nope, boy, that big toe is a bitch." Ask Kevin Durant,
bro.
That. For him to do that and go off and do the choking, I'm like, bro, he is that nigga. Excuse my language. And as soon as that shot went in, I hit the group chat. I said, I fucking hate the Sacramento Kings. I hate them.
It all goes back to the Kings.
No matter what he does for the rest of his career, I'm going to hate the Kings for it. If there is a world, Shaun said it, the three of you guys are against me. If there's a world where Tyrese Halliburton is in the NBA Finals, Vivek got to move out of Sac. They kicking his door down. They're coming and saying it's going to be the purge of Sacramento. If there is a world where Tyrese Halliburton wins the NBA Finals, y'all
might celebrate.
The annual purge is committed. It's going to be Sacramento King fans are going to lose their mind. And I know Kevin, it always can't come back to the Kings, but God damn it, we drafted him, and he was the only guy who said, I want to be here forever. And we let him walk out the door. But I got to give credit where credit is due. I have been the biggest cat hater my whole life. He's big fur. He's a big cat. But yesterday, he was a big dog. He shot 3 of 15 in this series last game versus Celtics. He hit 4 threes last night. For him to come out there and have 35, Jalen Brunson does what Jalen Brunson does. This team played like the Cleveland Cavaliers did in game 2. They had it. Picture wrapped. You're winning this game. They went on a 17-0 run in the fourth quarter with Jalen Brunson on the bench. I said it's over. There's no way they lose this game. And for some reason, I almost pulled a toddy and turned it off. I was like, you know what? Let me just watch this shit. Because I didn't pay attention when Reggie Miller did it, and I've been kicking myself. I said, you never know when this is going to happen again. And it happened again. Tyrese Halliburton is that guy. Now, Aaron Nesmith probably never do that shit again. He's probably going to stink it up the rest of the playoffs, but he will be known for 17 and 150 seconds.
He could say he averaged 29 points in the conference finals. We never played the game again.
Never played the game again. But this team has to figure it out. The New York Knicks, you get it from your top 2 guys. It's always one of the other guys. You're doing Toddy mentioned. When you're only playing 7 guys, you need your top 5 to come out there and play time in and time out. And if they're not going to come and be consistent, it's going to be hard. And I'm really happy my pick was wrong because Tyrese Halliburton would have been dragged through the mud the rest of his career for doing that and losing. So I'm happy it worked out for him. But God damn it, I was so close to being tied for first. I hate doing the grab and putting Shaun first. I hate it. And I was so close. I was like, you know what? We're tied. But Kevin's pitch is going up here first. God damn it. Nope. 150 seconds, lost me the game.
Well, I understand your frustration, Kevin, because I've been at the top for quite a long time. I think since the very beginning. And I haven't wanted to boast about it because the second I did it, the second it's going to tank. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to probably fall off a cliff and join Toddy there at the bottom where Toddy's just trying to climb back to 500 at this point. I'm proud of my record standing at 44-21. That means I've picked 2/3 of the games correctly. And so I give myself a little pat on the back for that. And so now I'm at 44-21. Kevin is at 41-24. So I got a 3-game lead on Kevin. Alex is at 40-27. And Toddy's at 30. That
shows the Thunder. This is not
yep.
So I'm still 2 games behind. I'm forever going to be 2 games behind. So I won't catch you until you drop 2.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I was looking at the graphics posted from yesterday, and so right now, as of updating yesterday's, I'm at 44-21. Kevin, you're at 41-24. Toddy's at 30-35. Alex is at 40-27. And so that is the Stats Over Politics picks. And as Kevin noted earlier, Jaevon and I both are picking the Timberwolves to win tonight, being Thursday night. And I'm assuming, Kevin, that you and Alex are going with the Thunder.
Ant-Man, Spider-Man, Batman. Thunder and 4, bitch! Punch play.
Oh,
crazy!
I don't believe that. I just know Wes is watching because he texted me saying he hated my jersey, so I just have to.
Well, shout out to Wes. We appreciate you.
That clip was for Wes.
Yes, exactly.
I said a swear word.
Yeah, don't want to get banned. But as we wrap things up here on episode number 144 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. Guys, I got 2 questions for you. These are both related to the conference finals, and this is Shaun's pop quiz. If you're new as a listener, what's up, Kevin? What's the question?
Before we get going, when does season 3 start? Because it's I've been behind Toddy because I've been missing episodes and he's been getting bonus points and we need to start season 3 as soon as possible.
That's a great question, Kevin, and it's actually gonna be coming up right around the corner. I have it already listed, and this has been the way for a while, so it's not arbitrary.
It's not even over yet. How are you gonna have him as the winner?
Well, no, Toddy was season 2 winner. So
are we not in season 2?
No, we're in season 3. We are currently in season 3. Kevin, you were the winner of season 1, which was episode 1 to 50. Toddy was the winner of season 2, which was 51 to 104. Now, and I put 108 to 151 because we didn't have any quizzes on 105 through 107, but 108 to 151 is season 3. And right now, I don't know how that happened. That is okay. So sometimes I update things on my laptop and then it updates to the Notes app or through the Notes app on my desktop. Right now, I'm looking at the numbers. I think it's supposed to be 21 and 13. But right now it says Toddy has 217 and Kevin has 1,364. Okay, well, the last thing, it's actually been 2 months since we've had a pop quiz because the last time I updated this was on March 11th. And so according to the Notes app on my laptop, which seems to be accurate, and my phone was just tripping out, the score is currently Jaevon 17, Kevin 16. So it's a barn burner. And then Kaz and Alex, they both have 2. And that's just because they haven't gotten as many reps as Kevin would like to say is the case for him. So right now the score is Jaevon 17, Kevin 16. We got 7 episodes left potentially. But as I just noted, this is the first pop quiz in 2 months. So here we go, guys. Let's close things out with the pop quiz. As this first one I would consider to be pretty easy. The next one, medium difficulty. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was named the MVP. I believe it was yesterday. And so he is the second. And I'll just say, Kevin already knows where I'm going with this one. Sorry, Toddy, I said too much already. I was about to say I'm going to make both of these a toss-up, but, Kevin just jumped in right there.
He said 3 words.
Yeah, I did say 3 words, but I think he understands where I was going with this. But anyways, even though Kevin just rose his hand, we're just going to make this a toss-up in terms of shouting it out. So the first voice that I hear say it, that's going to be the case for the next question as well, Kevin. But Kevin, if you already know where I'm going with this one.
Past 2 years, it's been raising your hand. Now it's just scream at top of our lungs. The consistency of these rules, grinding my gear.
That's fair. That's a fair point. And so, you know what? Because of that point,
let's go, Charles. I'm talking.
I'll stick with my previous rules. The main reason why I was going to say shout that one out is because I originally only had 1 question, but then I ended up coming up with 2. But so we'll stick with the original rules. Kevin, you rose your hand first. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the second player from Canada to ever win the MVP. Kevin, who was the first?
Steve Nash, baby.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. Steve Nash did it in 2006. He won it back-to-back, but he's the first to do it since Steve Nash in 2006. And so Kevin gets a point. Now that leads us to our other question for Shaun's Pop Quiz, the first in a couple months. Tyrese Halliburton is the second player with 30 points and 10 assists in a Pacers playoff game in history. Jaevon, who was the first guy to record at least 30 points, 10 assists for the Pacers in a playoff game? Like I said, this one's kind of challenging.
Wow.
Wow,
Okay.
that's a doozy. Because it's definitely not Reggie.
It's definitely. Oh, Mark Jackson.
No, that is incorrect, but that's a great guess.
Damn.
So, Kevin, do you have a guess who recorded at least 30 points and 10 assists in Pacers history before Tyrese Halliburton yesterday?
Can we get the year? Is this a long time ago?
No, it was not a long time ago. I don't have the year right in front of me, but it happened within the last 10 years.
Pacers point guards? I'm trying to think of those. Who's the point guard when PG was there? George Hill?
That is incorrect, but another good guess, and I'll give you guys a couple of hints. This guy won the Rookie of the Year in 2017. He was the sixth man of the year in 2023.
Why did I get that hint before? Damn!
Well, and Toddy just said it right there. Malcolm Brogdon was the other player to record at least 30 points and 10 assists in a Pacers playoff game. And so, first Shaun's pop quiz and a couple
was that?
months.
Was that against the Bucks?
I think it was against the Bucks, wasn't it?
It had to be. I'm not sure. To be honest, I just took a picture of my Sports Center screen, so there it is right there.
Where's Malcolm?
Halliburton did it.
Brogdon
was the other.
He's in Portland.
Is he in Portland?
I think
Stuck
so.
in Portland.
Is it Portland or no? Yeah, no. I was about to say no. He's with the Wizards. He's on the Wizards now.
He gets traded from there. He was with the Blazers.
Yes, that is correct. And then before that, he was with the Celtics, and then the Pacers, and then the Bucks. And so, unless you guys have anything else that you'd like to get off your chest here on episode number 144 of Stats Over Politics, that's going to do it. As we appreciate you all for always tuning in. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. And if you enjoy the podcast, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on X at Stats or Politics. See all the great content Kevin's putting out there. And make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. If you're enjoying the show, give us those 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you guys have been tuned in to episode number 144 of Stats Over Politics, for my guys, Jaevon Toddy, Kevin Dent, Kaz Johnson, and Alex Dent, I'm your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week on another episode of Stats Over Politics.